remains a mystery to most of us, but anyway, it's clearly not a free market policy. It's been largely successful, extremely successful. So, the neoliberal policy of realigning the state meant realigning away from social concerns towards the concerns suited for international capital, financial capital, towards big businesses. But the promise was that this would bring wealth to all. And that promise was increasingly exposed as not valid long before the crisis. Long before the crisis. But the crisis precipitated the reaction against the system, or at least it unleashed it. This current crisis, in my opinion, is a normal event. And by normal, it's clear, I don't mean good. I mean that's an intrinsic event. It's structurally located in the dynamics of profitability, exactly what Jamie is talking about in Minsky's idea that stability gives rise to instability. But that, of course, depends on the institutional structure, because the structure can't channel that. And that's a point that I think has been increasingly made now. So what would be a good outcome of the current crisis? I think it would be a good outcome if it lasted 10 years. Why? Because there's a worse possible outcome. It could last 20 years. And there's an even worse possible outcome that it could last 10 years or 20 years with increasing problems of unemployment and poverty and so on. The space that the crisis has given to the developing world is a space to withdraw from the trap of the free market ideology. Now you understand, I want to make it clear that markets are very powerful institutions. They can unleash a tremendous amount of activity, but they also have strong side effects. If you need an analogy for markets, think of nuclear reactors. And then you understand why you do not want a nuclear reactor without damping rods. Much of what we're getting now is exactly what happens. It's quite normal to unregulated markets. I don't want to say the word free because I don't think markets are really ever free, but anyway, unregulated markets. So then a series of issues opens up, and I want to end by talking about what I think are the central issues. What determines growth? What determines employment? What determines inflation? What determines the exchange rate? And what determines the distribution of income? It's from market outcomes. So far, economic theory has been captured by a single view that all of these are determined in an optimal way. In my opinion, that view was always false, and it has always been challenged for hundreds of years, and it's time to understand that the alternatives are well developed, theoretically, empirically, econometrically, because after all, you cannot be an economist if you do not have an econometric specification of your argument, and that we need to be able to compare these. The developing world has to start shopping again for a variety of these products and understand that in practice it has already been shown in Argentina, it's been shown in Brazil that, and China that one can apply markets, one can channel markets, but one has to intervene to make them move in the desired direction. I myself have been working on these things, as I said, for a long time. I'm in the process of finishing a book, which will come out through Cambridge University Press. And the goal of the book is to try to show that we can pull together an alternate framework for economic theory and for economic policy. Now, I'm sure that when you see this book, you may well conclude that I'm entirely wrong. But the point is that we have to do it. Somebody has to do it. Everybody's been trying to do it. Many of us have things to say on it. And what is momentous about this conference is that it is bringing that well-developed series of arguments and debates, because we differ, to a broader and influential audience like yourself. And our plea, all of us, is that we need to take more seriously the importance of economic theory to our thinking. Because otherwise we blunder our way into a world where the consequences are, alas, not for us, for those for whom on whom we experiment. I read somewhere that in the olden days in India, an astrologer who was wrong was punished in a visceral way. The word visceral has a terrible meaning in this context, because and unfortunately, economists have become astrologers for whom there's no punishment. And without proposing that we return to the old Indian method of disciplining astrology, let us at least move to the European method, which is to allow open debate and open discussion, and make that available to the policymakers, who in the end, like the king, have to decide who will step forward and who will not. Thank you.